So, up front, just a real quick summary of our agenda for today in regards to resource setup. We're going to be discussing the different types that you can utilize in field service for setting up your resource, as well as talking about the characteristics that you can choose and set up when you're in there, the categories that go along with setting up a resource, the different options that you have when choosing the scheduling setup, and how to associate work hours with your new resource. So with that, what I'm going to do is jump into a demo environment. So this particular demo environment that I've got spun up, I'm actually on the resources page. So if you were to navigate down to your sitemap down here on the bottom in the area, I'm going to switch from service over to resources. And the first option that I've got is to choose resources here on my sitemap. So you can see that I've got some existing resources that came as sample data in this environment. I've got my different resource types over here. And what I'm going to do first is jump into new and look at setting up a brand new resource. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to choose my resource type. So I've got a few different options here. So right now it is defaulting to the user resource type, and basically what I'm looking at there is that's likely a person that's already a member of my company or my organization. This does need to be a lookup and a user that's going to have a license in my Dynamics environment. It's also worth noting that if it's someone that's going to be using Field Service Mobile, the application, they will need to be set up as a user there also. So some additional options I've got in here are contact, and contact would also be a lookup to an existing contact. The same would apply to an account. But then I can choose a couple different interesting options here. So one of them being equipment or facility. So if I look at equipment or facility, you know, let's say I'm the type of company that maybe it's a forklift or a piece of specialty equipment. I might want to keep track of that and assign that to an individual work order. Well, there I could use the equipment resource type as an option. If I was a company that maybe had some different offices or warehouses that they wanted to basically book out, I could use facility for that type of a situation. So you do have some options there to go in and, for example, if I was to choose equipment, I could then go in and that would be a lookup to a piece of equipment, and then I can actually do some reporting on that as well. But I'm going to be able to keep track of the history of that piece of equipment, what jobs it's been on, and report on that as well. So then I can go ahead and give it a name. But for today, we're going to be focusing on user. And as users are set up, you can also go in then and create crews and pools. So keep in mind that those are options if you're the type of company that maybe uses two, three, or more person crews to complete installations. Those would be additional options for you also. So if we select user, I can come in and I will just search for available users. So you can see I've got myself listed there as a user. I'll go in and I'll remove the pound symbol there at the front. Now I'm going to set up my time zone as universal time here, and I'll give that a quick save. So once I save it, you can see that the record has now been changed to the resource name. So my name, Jesse Buchholz, does appear at the top. I can then jump over into my field service tab here and assign an hourly rate. So, you know, whatever you would like to have referenced here, go ahead. That is not a required field, but you can indicate what the hourly rate is. If this individual is picking up inventory from a specific location, here's your opportunity to go ahead and select that warehouse and You can also create a new warehouse location from here. So we'll assign this person to the warehouse main. Now, some additional options in here. If time off approval required is something that you want to enforce, you can do that here from the bookable resource record setup. So this would require this individual to submit a time off request, which would then go to the assigned manager that is assigned to this resource in Dynamics. And they would be able to approve that time off or deny it, obviously, and a workflow would trigger for that. So in addition, I can enable this person for field service mobile. So if they're using the mobile application, I want to indicate yes here. And then enable drip scheduling. So the options here are basically going to enable this user to see additional work orders on the mobile application. And if I was to select yes, I can choose how many bookings that I want this resource to be able to view on their mobile device. So if I wanted to, I could give that a quick save also. If I go back to the project service tab here, I can come in, and this is where we were earlier, we were talking about the characteristics and the categories. So characteristics are your skills and certifications. So right here it does say resource skills, but if I come over here to add a new bookable resource characteristic, I can do that there. You can see I've got a couple other options over here. So let's say I want to add a new bookable resource characteristic to this individual. Now I'm going to come in and I will just grab an existing one. So assembly diagnosis. Now I can give them a rating value. So maybe they are good there. And I can actually save and close, or I can save and create new. So maybe I want to add an additional characteristic. Let's see, budgeting, familiar, perfect. All right, so we'll save and close that. Now that's going to go ahead and add these. I don't need to add any more. It's going to go ahead and add these two skills to my resource. And now I can come over if I want to, and I could add a resource category, which here is labeled as a resource role. So new bookable resource category. If I want to come in and do that, I get this similar quick create menu, and I can go ahead and I can give it a name if I'd like. So we'll say network technician, and we will just give that a name of lead tech. And I could do the same thing there, and I could add some additional roles. So now that I've gone in and I've added a few roles, I can give that a quick save. If I do have a target utilization for this particular resource, I could enter that here as well. Now if we go back to our field service tab, you can see we've got this information filled out. And moving along to the scheduling tab, I'm going to get to choose some different options as far as where this technician or this bookable resource is going to start and end their day. So you've got three different options here. Location agnostic, meaning they don't have an actual physical address. So they're going to start their day from wherever their first work order is booked. Resource address would be whatever address I have on this user record. So if I was to choose resource address and I went back to Jesse Buchholz as a user in the system, whatever the address was that was assigned to that user, that's where it's going to start their day. Organizational unit address would be, for example, a warehouse or an office location, wherever they were assigned to, that would be the address that is going to be on this particular record. So if I was to choose the organizational unit address, that's where they're going to start and end their day. Now, I would want to come over and choose an organizational unit. So maybe their office address or warehouse address maybe is Seattle. And whatever the address is here, that's where I start and end my day. Display on the schedule board. If you want your dispatchers or schedulers to be able to view this resource on their schedule board as an option to book to, you're going to want that to be yes, as well as when you're using the availability search. So I can go ahead and give that a save. Really the only thing that I have left to do is to assign work hours. So if I next come into my work hours, you can see that this particular uh, bookable resource has some existing work hours in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in and I'm going to clear this out. So we'll just delete these events for this particular case. And you can see I'm on August 19th, so I'm going to create new. So we'll create some new working hours for this resource. And you can see that a quick create menu popped out on the side. So now I can come in and I can choose my hours. Out of the box, I've got a default set to 8 to 5. If I wanted to change this to 5:30 or whatever you'd like, you could certainly do that here. Now I want to come down and I want this to repeat every week. So I want Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to be that work week for this individual, and that's going to be an 8 to 5:30. So we'll give that a save. And now you can see that that has already shown up on our calendar, and that will also show up as available working times on the schedule board. And that was really a quick, high-level walkthrough of how to set up your bookable resources in Dynamics 365. Thank you for tuning in today, and I hope you found this beneficial.